Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Books I Won't Read Ever. So this was an interesting kind of topic. There's a lot of books that I'm just not going to read for various reasons at various points. And there's a lot of books that I started reading and have not finished and will not choose to finish because I don't really have a problem not finishing a book if I'm not really enjoying it. And if it's, for example, if I'm listening to it on audio while I'm driving to and from school and it is giving me road rage, I will not finish. But what I decided to do with this was to choose books, not just that I won't read, but that you might be surprised to hear that I won't read, or that I've heard people suggest to me recently or ask me questions about. And I'm chosen to do them in the order, not of like passionately won't reading kind of thing, but in the order of like how easy it is to explain that I won't read it. So like number 5 is the one that is the easiest to explain why I won't read it, and then number 1 is the hardest to explain. And this is actually it's a hard topic for me to talk about because when we get to number 1, please don't hate me. It's something that I was hoping to keep kind of on the DL as long as possible on Booktube / in book life in general, because it is something that just is very controversial. It's a very controversial decision. And then this book topic came up, and my little sister looked at it and she was like, "Oh, your secret's gonna be out." So please don't hate me. But I'll start at number 5. So number 5 is, of course, the 50 Shades trilogy by E.L. James. I think people who know me pretty well know that, of course, I wouldn't read this because I don't read erotica. But I have had a couple people ask, kind of just when people hear about it, or like they're like, "Caitlin reads a lot," they'll like ask me about it, and I'll be like, so yeah, no, I don't read erotica. Beyond kind of the glorification of controlling and abusive behavior, it's just not a genre I read, period. And if I were to choose to read that genre, I would go for something that people who read that genre regularly recommend. And people who read erotica regularly do not consider these to be good books. And so I would not choose to read them. I know some people have read them because they're curious and want to know what all the fuss is about. I just don't care. Number 4 is actually not a specific book, it's an entire category. It's anything that has Alloy on the copyright page. So Alloy is a book packaging company. They did the Gossip Girls books, they did the Pretty Little Liars books, they did the 100, which I've watched the show and actually really enjoy the show. I did read the book. But the problem is that every book I have ever read that is Alloy on the copyright page, I have not liked. I've either not liked it so much I have not finished it, or I have read through all the way to the end and still not liked it. And I just don't feel like they're quality books. I don't feel like I want to waste my time reading them. And if you have read them and enjoyed them, that's totally fine. You are literally like watching a video of a girl who reads NASCAR Harlequins. So like, I have questionable taste in books sometimes, but these particular books just don't appeal to me and they're not interesting. And it's gotten to the point where literally like if I open that copyright page or if I'm listening to it on audio and they acknowledge like, "Oh, Alloy," I'm like, nope, closing it up, putting it down, walking away. So that's number 4. Number 3 is one that's come up a lot lately because several of my friends have been reading it because of the television show, and it is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. So I tried to read Outlander in high school, and I got to just past the wedding, and I couldn't handle it anymore. I just couldn't handle kind of the way that Jamie was like clearly set up to be this perfect man and all the fawning over him, and I just was like, I don't have to read this. And so I just didn't. So I'm not going to go back to it because I tried it before all the hype, before the show was out, and I didn't like it. And I don't think that the things that bothered me then are going to be different now, even though like my taste has changed as I've aged. I don't think that the things that bothered me are going to bother me less now. So again, if you like these books, I'm not trying to say anything against you. I can't emphasize enough that this is not about like, if you read these books, you're a terrible person, you have terrible taste. Like, this is about books that I personally am not going to read. So, book number 2 is anything James Dashner writes after the Maze Runner trilogy. I have read the Maze Runner trilogy. You will know if you have watched my top 5 worst series endings why I feel about this. In fact, if you haven't watched that video, I'm going to put a little card up in the corner because that explains all of the rage I have against James Dashner, how betrayed I felt, and how I'm so pissed off at him. I will never, ever, 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 ever trust him again as a writer. Which brings us to book number 1, which is more than one book. Please don't hate me. Like, really, really, really don't hate me. And also, before I say this, I want to say, I'm gonna say all the reasons first, actually, because as soon as you hear this title, you're just gonna tune out and okay. It's a really personal reason, and some of my friends know and some of them don't, and it's not something that it's going to change. So you're going to hear this book and your immediate reaction is going to be, I have to change her mind. But I can guarantee you that any argument that you will make is one that I've already heard from my siblings. I kid you not, one of the first things that my younger sister, who is my unofficial consultant for this channel, said when I started making videos for Booktube was, are you gonna finish this series now because you kind of have to because you're on Booktube? And the answer is no. I'm not gonna finish this series. I'm not going to read. I'm never, ever, ever going to read books 5, 6, and 7 in the Harry Potter series. I have read books 1, 2, 3, and 4, each of them more than once, but I'm not going to read the rest of the books in this series, and I'm not going to finish it. I have seen the first 2 films in English, and I have seen, I think, the 5th film in German, which was interesting, in a language I don't speak, and a book that I hadn't read. It was actually quite entertaining. I'm not really going to necessarily watch the films. I'm not really going to finish the books. I know a lot about them because clearly they're a huge part of pop culture, and I'm not opposed to including them in tags or top 5s if there's something in them that I feel really fits. Like if you watched my Royal Court tag, I picked The Secret Traitor was chosen from Prisoner of Azkaban because I have read that book, but I'm not going to read the rest of the books in this series, and I know that a lot of you really love them, and I know that a lot of them like really change a lot of your lives, but it's just not going to happen. So please let me know in the comments if there are any books that you won't ever read ever, and please continue to watch my videos even though I am clearly a terrible person for not finishing Harry Potter. Thanks for watching. Bye!